Great radio stations across the land, iHeartRadio, JoePags.com, also Newsmax TV, the Joe Pags Show on your radio, on your television. Glad to have you along for the ride. Really glad to have back Hunter Pollack, of course, Meadow's brother. Meadow was murdered in Parkland, Florida at MSD High School on February 14th. And student at MSD High School, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Kyle Kashuv. Kyle, I appreciate you coming on for the first time. Hunter, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Joe, again.
All right, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time. And Hunter, I want to start with you because just a couple of days ago, it was, I talked to your dad about this, and it hurt me just talking about it because my daughter, Gabby, who's 18, graduated on Saturday. On Sunday, you did the walk for Meadow and got her diploma. Tell us about that. I mean, it could not have been easy.
It was a very hard moment. It was something Meadow was really looking forward to. So I'm not very happy with the school, but I thought it was bittersweet that they gave me the chance to accept the diploma on behalf of my sister.
And when you went up there, I'm guessing the crowd went nuts. I mean, I wasn't there, obviously, but I mean, I'm guessing there was a ton of support for the victims and those who survived?
It was only Joaquin Oliver's family and my family that accepted the diploma
Really?
that day. Yes, Joe.
I did not know that. All right,
so we got
go
standing
ahead.
ovations, and we had a standing ovation. It was bittersweet.
So you got the diploma. You and I talked about your relationship with Meadow a lot, and I know that she was your biggest supporter. What was she going to do after high school? She was looking forward to Sunday. She was going to get that diploma. Then what was next?
She was going to take the summer off, and then she was going to attend Lynn University in Boca. I think she always told me she wanted to be a lawyer, but her mind, she was so ambitious, her mind was all over the place on what she wanted to do.
And as you told me, she probably could have done anything she chose.
Anything she chose.
It's Hunter Pollack, lost his sister Meadow on February 14th. Kyle, you are a student and still are at MSD High School. You were there that day, right?
Yeah.
After the shooting happens, almost, I know it just seems like overnight, but it was a couple of days later, you had a group of Parkland students who showed up and gave a very, very severe slant to what they thought should happen going forward. And I don't know if I'm just gonna say things that could be wrong, and you correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me like they were co-opted rather quickly by a very left-leaning, a very liberal ideology. NRA is no good. Guns are no good. Fill-in-the-blank politician is no good. Trump is no good. And you dare say, well, hold on a second. I'm also a survivor, and I've got a different take. And that hasn't set very well with a lot of people you go to school with, has it?
Oh, absolutely not, man. The animosity at my school is absolutely insane. I get 3 to 4 stare-downs every day from kids I've never met before. There's a general fear of just hatred towards me because I think I don't really care about the hate, and I've been able to say what I want to say, and it's disagreed with the consensus. The consensus immediately came out. I think it sprung from ignorance, where people just immediately saw the gun as the issue. And I don't see the gun as the issue. I see the person as the issue. I see the individual who is mentally deranged, who's crazy, who actually makes the decision to go into a school and shoot innocent people. That's the issue, because I think that the same amount of deaths can be caused by, per se, a car, or similar deaths can be caused by a knife.
Right.
And I don't view an inanimate object as the issue here. I view the person.
It's Kyle Kashuv. He's a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, another survivor of the shooting that day. You may or may not know this, Kyle, but I'll put this out there because I know that you do a lot of debate format stuff, and you've had a lot of people on, or you've been on a lot of shows where people are coming at you and giving you a hard time, and you're so good with the information that you give back. The worst school massacre in this country's history was in Bath Township, Michigan, and the guy did it with explosives and fire. So it's not as if the tool really matters. What matters is when people go to school, they should come home safely. When people go to school, job one should be the safety and security of you, your classmates, Hunter's sister, everybody else, my kids, everybody else involved. The idea that they made it about the tool, is that why you became vocal very quickly? Because you were smart enough right off the bat to know that a lot of us have guns and we're not out killing people.
Well, I've always been somewhat a believer in the Second Amendment. I've always been somewhat of a conservative. But when like 300 peers of mine, we went to Tallahassee and everyone was pushing gun control, and it was completely illogical. They completely wanted to ban assault weapons. They wanted to ban AR-15s. There was even push to ban semi-automatics, which was completely insane. And I saw this, and I saw that they were gaining traction.
Right.
And I was like, look, someone has to be the voice of the conservative side. And I didn't do this because I wanted to. I did it because of necessity. You know, people are like, Kyle, you're doing this for the fame. You're doing this because you just want the attention. I mean, I really don't want to, man. I'm only doing this because someone had to represent the conservative side.
Well, I think what's nuts, and it's Kyle Kashuv. He's a student at MSD High School. He was a survivor that day on February 14th. What's nuts is that as you're getting from the other children, who I don't really say their names because every time you say something about them, you're a bully and you're bullying children. So the other students who are out there, they're going to do a bus tour soon, whatever. They keep on going on and on about how they have the right through their First Amendment to do this, yet at the same time I get the strong feeling they're trying to shut you up, when in fact they should say, come with us on the tour. It's okay that we're putting out two different, thought processes as long as the end goal is make schools safe. I mean, it would make sense to co-opt your side, my side, Hunter's side, Emma, David, everybody else's side. It would make sense to just put those all in the mixture and say, now let's solve it, right?
Well, like here's the differentiating factor that you didn't note is that the March for Our Lives movement is somewhat of an anti-gun movement, and I'm pro-gun. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And an example of this is they didn't even let Hunter speak or Patrick Petty, who lost his sister, speak at the March for Our Lives event in D.C. Continuously requested, right, Hunter? They didn't let you speak. You asked countless times.
They did not. Yes, they did not let me speak.
And we played Hunter's speech here on my show, and then later I know that David Hogg, and I'll say his name, he stepped up. He has a lot of followers on Twitter, and he did show it on Twitter, and it got some virality, and millions saw it. But the fact is, you should have spoken at that event. Hunter should have spoken at that event, 100%.
That's the proper argument. I'm fine with not speaking. What really, really angered me is that they didn't let Patrick Petty speak or Hunter speak. That's wrong.
I couldn't agree more. That's the voice of Kyle Kashuv. He is a survivor from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Also happens to love the Constitution and the Second Amendment. For some reason, the other kids only love the First Amendment. Hunter, I want to go back to you for a second, and I want to bring up this alleged resource officer. I don't even want to call him a school resource officer because he had no resources that day and is a coward. But that's my opinion. Let me ask you this: your family saw, your father actually showed it to me, that this guy who failed that day to save anybody, he should have died trying to stop this guy, is now giving interviews. I mean, he's been on MSNBC or on the Today Show or something. He did an interview with the Washington Post that's a big, long interview about how horrible his life has been since this happened, and he has to sneak out his back door. When you see that he's getting any publicity at all, and this guy should crawl under a rock and go away, in my opinion, where are you on this?
I don't even know why the media is covering him and trying to let him play victim.
Yeah.
He cried that he could not find the shooter. Well, you can't find the shooter if you don't look. He drew a position and he looked in the sky. Playing victim on TV is not going to make anyone feel bad for him. Everyone knows the facts. There's nothing that he can hide now.
It's Hunter. Pollack lost his sister Meadow in that massacre. Hunter, I've seen the video. It's 5.5 minutes of this idiot outside the door. Isn't he outside the door where the shooting's happening? Isn't he right there at the door?
Yes, and he blamed the windows as a reason why he didn't know where the shooter was.
Well, then why did he go? Then why did he go to that building? If he didn't know,
know,
why is he at that specific building? There were a lot of buildings there. Why does he go to that one if he doesn't know what's going on in there?
Because the security monitor that let 1958 waltz right into the building, picked up Peterson and drove him there, and let Peterson draw up a position, and I think he just didn't have the grit to go in.
Wow. It's Hunter. Pollack lost his sister Meadow, and it's also Kyle Kashuv, who is a survivor from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Your dad wants to fix it. Hashtag fix it. And I put that on hashtag, every time I retweet you or your dad, or I've been retweeting Kyle too recently. He wants to fix it. Kyle wants to fix it. You do. I do. And I do believe, although I think they're co-opted and there's a puppet master here, but I do believe the other children would like to fix it. Obviously, nobody wants kids to die at school. How do we make this happen knowing that there are two stark sides here, guys? What do we do? Kyle, let me start with you. What specifically, if you could make it happen today, would you start doing today?
Look, I think we definitively have to set the stage that the other side also doesn't want to see this happen. And
right.
We can't always consistently vilify them as being controlled by someone else when that's not the point here. The point here is that they also don't want to see this happen. And we have, in some respects, have to work with them. When I first started off, everything was bipartisan. I wanted to make sure that we could reach bipartisan solutions.
Yeah.
And I think one of these bipartisan solutions is making sure that we harden our schools. I want to make sure that every single person coming into our schools is safe and secure while actually learning. And I think we have to go off the Israeli system where they have armed guards and gates and fences at every single school, and they monitor these kids. And I think we have to expand on that and make sure that we need to have imaging software in our schools. We have to scan their bags. We have to implement any possible deterrent that would make someone not want to commit what happened at our school.
I think those are all excellent points. Hunter, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so the issue in Parkland is the media tries to divide everyone. They try to divide David. They try to divide Kyle. They don't want us working together. But I think everyone wants the same goal. We want to stop school shootings. A big thing that we have to do is harden our schools. We need single-point entries. We need metal detectors, and we need armed guards. If we want to fix it, then we have to do this because it's summer now, and come August, kids have to go back to school.
Right.
If they don't take these precautions, if I were a parent, I would not send my kid to school.
I think what you guys said was absolutely 100% spot on. What we haven't touched on, and we've only got a minute or two left, and I appreciate the time, Kyle Kashuv and also Hunter Pollack. The fact is, law enforcement knew this guy. The monitor that you talked about knew this guy when he saw him. He knew that he was a bad guy. The sheriff's office knew this guy. The FBI knew this guy. This guy was bragging that he was going to be a professional school shooter. The ball was dropped 30, 40, 50, 60 different times. The Promise program failed the community and failed those who died that day. Yes, we have to do the hardening of the target, like you both said so eloquently. You're both absolutely right. What do we do before we even get to the school?
Well, Joe, I'll answer that question. So I don't want to spoil everything I know, but we have a team. We're constantly working, and part of the goal is to hold everyone accountable that was able to stop this, but they just did not do their jobs. They were lazy, they were incompetent, and they need to be out of office, or they should not have their security monitor job. They should not get their pensions. From everyone from the bottom to the top that's held responsible, they will be held accountable.
And I can appreciate that. Kyle, did you have a last word on that? Everything that led up to the school should never have allowed this guy anywhere near the school.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing that happened in the Texas Sutherland Springs shooting, the government failed. The government isn't doing its job. And someone like Hunter said, we have to hold the government accountable. There were so many failures of what happened in Stoneman Douglas. You know, there were tens of reports to the Broward Sheriff's Office. I call them the cowards of Broward.
Yeah.
There were 2 FBI tips. The Child Protective Services failed. Like you said, the Promise program failed, and no one's being held accountable. And we have to start with holding our leaders and our government agencies accountable for their actions, because if we don't, the same thing will continuously happen again and again.
I can hear it in both of your voices. You're both going to keep on fighting this fight for as long as you're possibly able, and I'm proud of you both because I think you're doing an amazing job. And I really do hope that the others, that the 4 or 5 that are so focused on by the media, do come around and say we must join forces with these guys because then maybe we can solve it. Eventually, because November is going to come and go, guys. After November, these 4 or 5 that we keep on seeing are not going to be important to those politicians who really want them on message any longer.
I'm trying to work on them.
No, and I think that you're doing a great job working on them. And I've heard the stories of what you've been doing with them. I just wish it weren't always behind the scenes, Hunter. You know, if they did it in public, maybe we solved the problem. You know what's interesting, guys, and I know that you already know this. I'm going to let you go in a second. I really appreciate the time. But pay attention to what's happening in Santa Fe, Texas. Not one student who was either shot and survived or was
Believe
there.
this, I have an article about to publish, like tonight or tomorrow morning, exactly on this.
Yeah.
Exactly, and how no one. Do you know a single survivor from Santa Fe? The answer is you don't know a single one, because nothing in David Hogg's 5-point plan is applicable that can be milked by the media to push a gun control narrative.
Kyle, the media left, Kyle. The media left Santa Fe almost immediately because every student said we don't want gun control.
Covering Parkland.
The media was never at Santa Fe to begin with.
Yeah.
Instead of covering Santa Fe students, they took Stoneman Douglas kids and interviewed them because they knew that they would push a gun control narrative. And even more so, I didn't see the same level of celebrity outpour that came to Stoneman Douglas brought to Santa Fe. All I saw were people on Twitter. I didn't see Ellen DeGeneres or any of them, any of the late night show hosts, give any attention to any of the Santa Fe students at all.
Because the vast majority of the Santa Fe students today want teachers armed. And that means the media
Exactly.
better not shine a camera on them, because then the American public will know that what's happening in Parkland and those 4 or 5 that are saying it, they're unique. They are not the norm.
Exactly. The media appearances by kids in Santa Fe were specifically handpicked to push a gun control narrative.
Exactly
Santa
right.
Fe is overwhelmingly conservative, and all they want is to harden schools and arm people at the schools to protect them. But the media, the specific times that they chose people from Santa Fe to talk, they all wanted gun control.
That's Kyle
This has been a
Kashuv.
trend
No,
throughout school shootings.
listen, guys, we've gone through 15 minutes, and I can talk for the next 2 hours with you. Let's do this again very soon. It's Kyle Kashuv. He's a survivor from MSD High School, and also a guy who actually believes in the Constitution in its entirety, not just 1 or 2 of the amendments. And of course, Hunter Pollack, Meadow's brother. Hunter, it was heart-wrenching to see what you did on Sunday. I know that Meadow was looking down and smiling, and I appreciate both of you taking the time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us on again, Joe.
We're back after this in the Joe Pag Show. Stay right here.